Hi, I'm Janine Mason, and you're with Authentic Conversations, where we talk about the messy intersection between faith, family, and work. Today, I want to talk to you about the family aspect of that. And really, it's come out of a crazy weekend that we've had with two graduations, two different kids, one graduating from high school, one from college, in two different locations over the weekend. Lots of fun, lots of family times, lots of celebration of the girls for a kind of a career well done, a high school career really well done. Both of them have won multiple accolades, awards. Everyone we talked to just complimented us on those kids. But what it made me realize was my kids are growing up, as if I didn't know. It was our baby that graduated from high school, and so she's no longer the baby. She's actually about to turn 18. She's going to be officially an adult and heading off to college. And our number two born was graduating college and is off to start a job in Washington, D.C. in a couple of months. And as I kind of watched other families going through this same process of watching their kids graduate, the celebrations, but also the move out days of moving out of dorm rooms for Holly and moving out of her Christian sorority house for Emily, a couple of years there for both of them. Lots of stuff accumulated, lots of packing and cleaning required. It was really an interesting time for me to reflect and for me to kind of watch other families going through that process and to see the different ways of approaching this as our kids become adults. How do we change our approach in parenting? And so really at the heart of it, that's what I want to talk to you about today. I woke up this morning and I went for a walk on my own. And as I walked out the door, two little girls on bikes, maybe about 7 or 8, were biking down the road, apparently on their own. And I kind of was kind of like, oh, that's fun, but also, where are their parents? And very soon after, there was Mum. She was going for a run and she had her eye on these girls. Now, if I'd seen 2-year-olds biking down by themselves on the road, I would have been immediately scooping them up, taking them off the road, looking for the parent, right? If I'd seen 18-year-olds and Mum had been running along behind them, keeping an eye on them, I would have said something's wrong. Great illustration of how our parenting styles need to change. At 2, we're very much hovering. We're very much telling what to do. At 8 or 9, 10, we're starting to more direct and ask questions. And by the time our kids are teenagers, we hopefully are standing there to help, but we're starting to be more of a coach. When they become even more independent again, suddenly we become almost bystanders with great heart and great intent. Our love hasn't changed, and it's really difficult sometimes for us to actually change our approach because we're still in that vein of telling them what to do. I watched as one mum was helping her daughter pack her dorm room. And she walked in, she marched in, she told her daughter what to do. Her daughter left the room at one point and she was moving things over. And I watched as her daughter came back in, an adult, came back in and kind of said, well, I actually had a plan, Mum. I actually had a strategy and now you've messed it up. And I kind of watched this awkward interaction as Mum was wanting to help, wanting to do the right thing, heart in the right place, but hadn't yet realized, hey, it's my turn now to step back. And I was in that same room helping clean up my daughter, and I said to her, hey, how would you like us to help? What would you like me to do? And she put me to work. So role reversal there, and I would have done it a different way, and she asked me to do it her way, and so I did it her way because this was her packing. And so it made me think about that transition and how difficult it is for us to do that transition. We have 4 kids and they're all born really close together. And so by the time our youngest was born, our oldest was not quite 6. And I remember finding this time when Hannah was about, I think, 8 or 9. And I found myself cutting up everything on her dinner plate for her, and realize, wait a minute, have failed as a parent to teach her how to eat properly with a knife and fork, because it was easy as a mother of 4 small children. I had been doing it that way since she was born, cutting up stuff, giving the plate to them, and then the next one came along, and so I was cutting up the stuff and giving it to. And so I still had a 2 or a 3-year-old that needed that, but I had failed to recognize that my 8 or 9-year-old needed something different. She needed the freedom to, and she needed the skills to learn how to cut up her own meal and how to deal with that herself. The same can be true for us. Even as our big kids come home, they're home for the summer, and we have been used to directing traffic, and we've been used to telling them what to do because they're still in the same bedrooms. The fights, the sibling rivalries often actually stay the same even as they're adults. Some of the same interactions. And unless we consciously change how we are interacting, we'll slip back into that pattern of being the directive parent rather than being the parent of older kids or adults. And I have been learning to use the question often, would you like a suggestion? Can I offer some advice? Those kinds of things rather than saying, this is how you do it. And then other times, even with our oldest daughter, who's now 23, I'm actually learning to try and hold back even asking that question and waiting to be invited in. Why am I saying this? I guess over the weekend I observed a lot of parents that were really struggling with that whole concept of letting go and letting kids be big kids now. Our kids that were once small, that we told what to do, what to wear, how to do everything, are now approaching or becoming adults. And it requires a different style of parenting. It requires us becoming coaches and letting go control and realizing that it doesn't matter that much usually how the box gets packed. And if that gets packed wrong in our standards, and something gets broken, then it's probably not the end of the world. And your child will learn how to do it better next time, how to take better care. But sometimes they have to learn. And if they're wanting to ask for help, that's fantastic. But if they're not, then realizing that maybe, just maybe, your way is not always the best way. So I've got this house full of kids and who are not kids. I've got a million boxes and bags and baskets and all sorts of stuff everywhere. And we're in a house that's a whole lot smaller than where we were in California. And we're wrestling through what's going to Washington, D.C. with this kid, and what's going to college and also in Washington, D.C. with this kid, and where are we storing that over the summer, and how is it actually working? And I realized that this is the first summer where it's not normal for me to have kids. It's always been normal. Even last summer when they came home, that felt normal and comfortable. And this time it feels I've gotten used to not having 6 people in the house, and suddenly I've got 6 people in the house, and I have to negotiate a new kind of normal, because otherwise I'm going to slip back into telling everybody who has to do the dishes when. And everybody's an adult and they don't need to be told when to do the dishes. And so sometime in the next couple of days we'll be sitting down as a family and saying, how are we going to manage washing? How are we going to manage the laundry room where 6 different people doing their washing? If somebody leaves it in the dryer, that just creates chaos because it all backs up. How are we going to manage cooking? Because I now do a lot more outside of the home and I don't have time to do all the cooking. And I don't actually just want to do the cooking when everybody else is sitting around perhaps not working. So how are we going to negotiate now with young adults how we cook together and who helps clean up, and what does that look like? So it's changing. I'm having to change my paradigms. I'm having to change how I think, how I behave. I'm having to change my language as I interact now with my kids. I love and adore them like I always have. I am busting on the inside to want to help them and want to give advice and want to say this is maybe the best way to approach this thing that you're approaching. But I am learning in this season to hold my tongue. I'm learning in this season to slow down and maybe wait to be asked for advice, or to, if that doesn't happen, to then say, hey, may I offer a suggestion? Would you like to hear what I'm thinking about that? And then waiting for the response. And if the response is no, being okay with that. How about you? Where are you at in your parenting? Maybe you're a parent of little kids and this doesn't apply to you, and yet you will be here soon enough. And actually, your 2-year-old will soon be a 4-year-old and won't need you to help as much as he used to. And in the progression of their development, it's good for us to step back every now and again and say, what am I doing for my kids that is setting them up for failure rather than setting them up for success? Am I doing things for them that they should be doing for themselves? I watched as Holly said goodbye to a young lady that she's been mentoring, I think a freshman at high school. And I knew who this girl was because Holly has talked about her before, that she had come in unprepared really to be in an environment with other people. She was thrown in the deep end and she was sinking, not swimming. And Holly came along and started to kind of mentor her and coach her how to cope in this environment. She's a Christian young lady, but I don't think she'd ever been in a kind of a public space. And here she is in boarding school, feeling like she had no support. And I knew who she was because of the look of devastation on her face, as she realized life's about to change. This one person who I could count on is leaving their environment. And it was, I felt bad, but I know that Holly felt bad as she had to say that last goodbye and walk away. She hadn't been prepared for the next stage by anybody. And I want to ask you as a parent, how are you preparing your children for that next stage of freedom? How are you preparing them to take up the new responsibilities? And then when they get there, are you willing to actually hand over that responsibility? I listened as my girls kind of argued a little bit about who was going to empty the trash can in a certain bathroom. And in the end, I said, look, I'm doing it this one time just because it will save the argument. And I just didn't want to listen to that arguing. But I said, but then it's up to you guys to negotiate it from there. Why? Because I've given them the skills now to negotiate. I've given them the skills to actually work with one another. And now it's time for me to step back and let them figure it out. But I had to give them the skills of, how do I talk to somebody else with honor and respect? How do I figure out how to do things together? How do I share a bathroom and work out who's going to empty the trash can? Where are your kids at? What's the next level of freedom that they're really needing to have? Are you willing to let them step into that? How do you prepare them for that responsibility? And then how do you as a parent step back and say, I've done my job. I'm not going to cut your vegetables and meat anymore, Hannah. I'm not going to tell you how to pack your box anymore, Holly or Emily. I'm not going to tell you how to clean your room. I'm actually going to say, I need this in my house. And then how you figure out how you're going to do that. And I'm here if you want to ask me questions. I want to support you. It's time for us as parents to realize that as our kids grow, we get to grow as parents and change our language, change everything about how we do it. And I want to encourage you to just do a quick self-assessment this day, have a look and say, is there freedom that they should be stepping into? Is there responsibilities that are no longer my responsibilities that are theirs? And what do I need to take my hands off of? And why is it so hard to let go? My love isn't changing. It doesn't mean that my love is changing, but my expression and how I show up in that space and show up with them might need to change. I bless you in that process. Hey, I want to also tell you about a new opportunity. I am about to launch a new parenting course that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks here. I want to tell you that if you are interested in joining me, we are going to talk about what is the role of a parent. What does the Bible say the role of a parent is? What is your goal as a parent? Actually, what are you aiming for? Because if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're probably not going to hit it. And then we're going to talk about how to teach kids to dream. We'll talk about how do you set up the culture in your house intentionally, not letting it just kind of happen, but actually making it what you want it to be. How do you teach kids to walk their own relationship with Jesus? You can't decide for them, but I believe there are things that you can do that really help you set them up for success in that area. If you want to be a part of that course, I'd love to have you be a part of that course. You can check out the link below and sign up. You'll show your interest. Doesn't mean you're committing to the course. We're looking at 6 weeks. Over the summer, we'll take the 4th of July week off because everybody is doing crazy stuff, including us. We're going to be in Dallas for that week. And we're going to have a great time. There'll be lots of interaction, plenty of time for questions, and plenty of times to interact with others who are on that journey as well. So if you're interested, love to have you there. Sign up on the link below. Hey, have a blessed week.